The Podcasting Dead is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Make sure to subscribe for more podcasts. And while you're at it, drop us a like. If you want to help support the channel and have access to extra content, secret contests, and more, make sure to search for us on Patreon. Patreon.com/thepodcastingdead.
It's time to get weird on a Wednesday, which, if you ask me, is one of the best days to get weird.
Yeah, why not?
I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead. We podcast about quite a few things, from The Walking Dead to, obviously, conspiracies and the paranormal. And if you're into podcasts, as the intro would suggest, consider checking out our channel. We'll tell you about our Patreon at the end, because I don't want to bother you with Patreon details right now, because there's no guarantee you're going to enjoy this podcast, in which case you're certainly not going to pay any money. So for those that stick around to the end and maybe enjoy what you hear, we'll give you the info if you want to support the channel that way. But in the meantime, JP, today we're doing something a little bit different. We're doing more of an open forum in terms of discussion with conspiracies, because last week we also did something a little different, because we're not a presentation channel. Like, we don't bring you like this well refined and put together scripted presentation, which I'm not saying I won't ever do that. If I ever have time to type up a script, we could do that. But, we will discuss or go over an event or a theory, and then we'll discuss it afterwards. Well, last week we just kind of had an open forum and just talked about simulation theory.
Yeah, man, always stoked to get back into that.
And so today we're having kind of an open forum when it comes to discussion and conspiracy. And JP, what are we getting? We're getting back into the simulation. Is that what we're doing?
Oh, man, I won't talk about
following your lead,
brother. I won't talk about everything. Like, I was reading up the other day, man, like the Green New Deal, all these green initiatives, solar energy, wind energy, beautiful things, definitely good stuff to invest in, but it's kind of like a big platform for certain parties. And, they're trying to cut back, in a lot of cases, eliminate stuff like fracking and coal mining, offshore oil drilling, which, again, sounds awesome. But I was reading that, what Bill Gates is investing heavily in?
Other than the vaccine?
Nuclear energy. So basically, eliminate all the fossil fuel stuff, and he's basically going to be like Mr. Burns. He's going to probably have a button to say, okay, let me, communicate to give orders to the HARP installation up in Alaska. Let's make it super duper cloudy and not so windy for, a little while. Everyone, what choice do you have but nuclear energy, which is, Bill Gates's bread and butter.
Now, let me ask you, going back to something you just said, HARP. What are your thoughts on that? I've read up on it a while back. I've seen videos on it. It's this research facility that some people claim have the ability to affect the climate and the weather and things like that. What do you think? I know you don't necessarily believe. I'm straight up skeptical on everything, whereas JP doesn't necessarily believe everything, but he gives more of it a chance, I think, than I do. What are your thoughts on HARP? I mean, do you think there's any truth to that? Is there any proof that they're controlling weather? I mean,
that's not something I've looked into in depth. I know they wouldn't let Jesse Ventura up in there, but no, man, I think that there's definitely a technological means for manipulating weather and things of this nature.
And you think that exists already and it's being used?
Yeah, I do.
And now, what have there been any natural disasters that you can point to that you think it's been used to create, and what was the reason for it?
I think a lot of these superstorms, like the hurricane that hit, New York City not too long ago. I'm not going to pinpoint specific ones because, like I said, I haven't researched on that level. But yeah, I think a lot of weather phenomena that end up wreaking havoc, and then there, gives them another way of pushing this Green New Deal, this environmental agenda, which I'm a conservative when it comes to environmental conservatism. I'm all for, but
like a conservationist is kind of what you mean,
right?
Conserving nature. Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think any idea of using the wind, using more green options if it, and I know sometimes it's not as clear cut as let's just switch to that. I understand that. But I mean, if there's a green option, it's always, why would you not want to do something to help, the planet you live on? But, I definitely know, like you said, certain people use that as a political platform and then never really do anything
Well, it's used in large part just with these carbon taxes to put a lot of American industry out of business. Move a lot of industry to third world nations where you can essentially use slave labor.
Sidebar, we're not getting into politics at all, but that was always one thing. I got what Hillary Clinton was saying, but like when she was running against Trump and she's like, we're going to put a lot of coal miners out of work. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I get we want to go to a cleaner energy, and I mean, yay, but how did you expect? I mean, you just lost thousands of votes right there. Right, you know what I mean? Like that, it was just one of those things where it was like, the idea behind it I can understand and appreciate, but at the same time, your presentation definitely left something to be desired. I mean, when you're looking into a camera and telling thousands and thousands of people that I'm going to put you out of work.
Yeah.
Well, there go their votes. They kind of want to make money,
Right, man. I mean, fossil fuels, we definitely, we got to eventually steer away from them. But I mean, it's like being addicted to heroin. You can't just, quit. You got to kind of wean yourself off with Suboxone or something.
I think a lot of folks are just waiting until
heroin is legal.
Well, I'm sure there are a lot of people waiting on that. But, I think a lot of people, too, with like green energy, it just has to do like getting electric cars and vehicles that don't depend on fossil fuels. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think a lot of it, too, is just that, and I haven't looked into it, so if there are newer, cheaper models, forgive my ignorance. But, back in the day, it was expensive. I mean, you did have like your Priuses and stuff that were kind of hybrids and all of that. But, I mean, going straight electric was not a cheap endeavor. I think a lot of people are happy, don't mind the idea of switching, but it's just, they're kind of sitting back waiting until technology makes it to the point where you can get one for a decent price.
Right. Yeah.
And then some of them are just, I hate to sound petty, but some of them are just flat out ugly as shit. You know what I mean? It's like the average American that's just looking for a nice vehicle, is like, wow, that thing looks like a cracked out spaceship. Not trying to go pull up to the hunting club on that thing.
Yeah, man. It's crazy, though. You see these Teslas driving themselves and stuff.
Yeah, a good buddy of ours actually just got back from California, and his family has a Tesla. And he said that they, it didn't drive itself because there's like different models you can get. Theirs, though, would keep you in the lane. You could take your hand off the steering wheel. It would brake for you and all of that. It pretty much drove itself, but it wasn't like the straight up just program, lay back, take a nap, wake up at your destination. But it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Those are the things that we dreamed about cars would be as kids. I mean, I remember being a kid, my dad going, oh, one day you ain't even going to have to drive. You just go on the Jetsons or something, man, which I don't think they did this. But, you're just going to sit in your car and tell it where you want to go, and you can lay back and take a nap. If you're going to the beach or going on vacation, hell, you can just take off that night, put in your destination, and go to sleep on the way up there.
Yeah, man. I mean, you talk about people losing jobs, like truckers. They're going to be obsolete. Give it, 10 years. But who knows,
Yeah.
Just like you remember in Logan, all of the self-driving trucks on the highway and all that stuff. Yeah. So
all it's going to take, though, man, is for one bad accident.
Oh, and there's going to be
one of those, malfunctions and ends up killing somebody, and then, but
I mean, you think about when they first started, using the railroads, how many train wrecks there were, back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Getting back to old Bill Gates, he's been under fire a lot here lately. A lot of people uneasy with him and his role in the vaccine for the coronavirus. A lot of people thinking, there's microchipping involved? Or
yeah, a lot of people think that he's going to be, because his family has been in eugenics, so I think going back to his grandfather, they're talking about him doing a mass, Jesus, words are hard this morning.
Keep in mind, we podcast early in the morning, so bear with us. You're waking up. Well, you're listening to us wake up pretty much. You're talking about a genocide or
no, just to where people can't have babies.
Oh, sterilization.
Sterilization. That's the word I was trying to think of.
No, I only thought of it because I had time to. I'm looking at it from the outside. I do that all the time.
Yeah. It's Jesus. I know this word. Why can't I say it? But yeah, a lot of people think that it's going to have a lot to do with that. In these third world countries, kind of thinning out the population and. Shoot, probably our country as well. I mean, probably I'm sure it'll be worldwide. They'll pinpoint specific parts of the population they want to thin out.
Well, we do know, it is pretty much fact. I've seen video, unless the video was doctored, which very well could be the case. So I take it back. I guess it's not fact, but it's pretty well known that, the elites like the Rothschilds have talked about the importance of population control. I remember watching an old presentation by one of the Rothschilds talking about how it was a bad thing that the infant mortality rate was as low as it is, because we need that population control like any animal on the planet. You get to hunt deer for sport, especially in our area, not just to put dinner on the table, but, and let's face it, in modern times, not very many people, and I hunt, so I just want to say that out front. If you hunt and you think I'm disparaging hunters, I'm certainly not. But, in our time, let's face it, man, you got a very few people like living off the land in comparison to people who just go to almost everybody goes to the grocery store. Everything you need is there. So a lot of reason why hunting is, still a big thing. It's population control, because deer populations can get out of control. And then you're talking about, everybody's hitting a deer on the way to work in the morning. And that's why, hunting, because then we get in a very sensitive time when it comes to, the social climate of the world. It's just everything is, so, I could totally see hunting being something like, that's just cruel and inhumane. It needs to go. But a lot of reason why, governments still allow it, or, the government still allows it, or state governments, or wherever you want to narrow it down to who controls it, is because it helps population control, because deer population can actually hurt itself by getting out of control. Okay. And what I'm getting at is, some people look at humans in the same way, that too much, and also too, let's just be blunt here. The more people you have on the planet, the harder it is to rule. Right. More people equals, more opposition, more of a chance to be overthrown, more of a chance to, not be followed, if you will. But so yeah, we know that some elite have talked about the need for population control. So I'm not saying that's what Bill Gates is doing, but some of these conspiracy theorists, I can understand their hesitation towards it, because Bill Gates is certainly one of the elite, and he's behind that. And really, at the end of the day, you're injecting something into your body. You don't really, I'm not a scientist. I didn't watch the process. I don't know what's going into my body.
Yeah. Well, Bill Gates, like I said, his family's been involved with eugenics going way back. I can't remember all the specific details, but...
Well, I hate it because I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any means. My daughter's been vaccinated. I've been vaccinated. I'm for vaccinations, but it's just... You want to be able to trust where it's coming from, what's in it. Yeah. In tumultuous times, like now. With 2020, man, it's one of those things where I think Bill Gates is trying to control the population? I don't think so, but it's 2020, man. Nothing would surprise me now.
He's definitely, I don't know, man. A lot of people think that they've just the right people have the right leverage on him, and so they're using his foundation, and he'd probably be happy to just sit back and live a life of luxury until he dies. But a lot of people think that with all of these elites in the upper echelons of society, everyone's got some kind of leverage on everyone.
So you think someone has dirt on him, and they're just
probably
holding it over
got
his head?
a video of him on Pedophile Island or some shit like that. Isn't he on the flight logs for Epstein? I want to say he is.
I don't want to say because I'm not 100% sure, but check that out. Look that up. I don't want to. I feel like I heard he was too, but I don't want to spread I don't want to put that kind of image with somebody if he wasn't. But and when is that list going to come out? Like when is this information, from Jeffrey Epstein's former, I don't know what she was. I know she was like his assistant or whatever, but former lover / whatever, Christine, whatever she was. But we haven't really, you notice that's kind of been hush.
Yeah. Yeah. You see so many things. You're seeing some articles, false claim targets Gates using Epstein connection. Then you see an article from like Business Insider, Bill Gates' relationship with Epstein deeper than originally reported. So, and man, sometimes I wonder if certain, maybe he had like the big, like kiddie sex orgies on the island, and then maybe he, like any other party place. Like sometimes he would just have people over for a soiree that was totally innocent and clean, you know?
Oh, I'm sure he did. I mean, you have to. I mean, you have to. If you're using that island for that type of thing, you also have to bring people there that will go back and tell how innocent it is. Right, you know what I mean? Like, you got to
make you wonder.
You know, because, I mean, you've seen, like, Justin Roiland has been there. I'm like, no.
Yeah, Tom Hanks, man.
Yeah, well, hell, and Tom Hanks didn't make himself look any better when he freaking became a Greece citizen. I think now he's moved back there. Now he's, like, living in Greece. Or,
yeah, that does make you kind of think, yeah, he was probably having sex with little kids.
And now, is it true that Greece does not extradite?
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. I mean, I feel like there's always some kind of workaround with that. But I feel like especially with Greece's economy, if the United States really wanted to like lean on them hard, I feel like they'd get what they wanted. But
right
at the same time, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, so I definitely believe that Epstein, you know, despite the depravity that was happening on that island, I'm sure he had some people fly over and it was just like very fancy, like this really, you know, great event, and they just were blown away by how awesome it was, and he made sure to keep it as innocent as it could be just so that they would go back and be like, look, I've been to that island. I don't know what you're talking about. There aren't any underage, you know, girls there having sex with, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, now the question would just be, which ones were those people?
Exactly. I mean,
because honestly, I would like to think Tom Hanks was one where he was like, Tom Hanks is a wholesome, because I love Tom Hanks. Like, I love Tom Hanks, man. On screen and off screen, it just seems like an awesome guy. And it's like Forrest Gump's one of my favorite movies of all time. So, you know, I like to think maybe Tom Hanks was one. You know, he brought him over there because he's a wholesome, all-American guy. Everybody likes Tom Hanks. If he goes out talking about, you know, and I don't think that Jeffrey Epstein necessarily wanted them to just go back. It's like if he ever got cornered, people like Hanks would come to his aid and be like, look, I've been out there. It's nothing like that. It's a very nice, upscale, you know, island with lots of fun amenities, but there's none of that. You know, I would like to think that, but I'm probably wrong.
You imagine Tom Hanks is in this big mansion for what he thinks is like a fundraising soiree on the island. He's looking for the bathroom and opens the wrong door. Next thing he knows, it's a bunch of like middle-aged dudes boning, you know, like freaking 10-year-old girls or some crazy
You think it's that young?
Man, nothing would surprise me, dude. I think it much like that dude on Game of Thrones. You remember the dude with the probably, you know, younger. I have a feeling if you have the money and you have that desire, you can probably get whatever you want. You can probably fuck a baby panda if you want.
No, man, why would you want to do that to a baby panda?
I feel like if you want it, they can provide it. And you know good and well that there are sick-ass pedos out there that don't just want like a 15 or 16-year-old girl. They want like a legitimate child.
Yeah, that's so fucking sick, man.
Yeah, I mean...
But yeah, I mean, well, man, I mean, it's just wild. I mean, the thing that's blowing my mind is that, all right, you know, and I'm skeptical on conspiracies. You know, a lot of stuff. I'll sit here and discuss it all day and what could be's and scenarios. But at the end of the day, a lot of the conspiracies I don't believe. Call me a sheep, whatever. I think that people just are a lot more creative than they give themselves credit for, and they come up with some really wild theories with some convincing connections. But like the QAnon, this whole movement is about stopping the child pedophile ring. Am I wrong? I haven't studied up that hard on it, but isn't that kind of what QAnon is?
That's a big part of it, yeah.
Like exposing these well-known figures that are part of the child trafficking pedophile ring.
The sex trafficking ring.
What's so bad is, you know, you've got a lot of movements, and I'm sure that even if it's not even if it's all BS, we do know that child sex trafficking happens.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. You know, so it's one of those things where, conspiracy or not, it's a real world problem. Children are being abducted and sold into sex slavery, and it's disgusting. It's horrible, and it needs to be a bigger priority for nations to stop than it is, in my opinion. So what's blowing my mind is on Facebook, it's being used almost as like a political tool now. Mm-hmm. I've got some people that are super political that are basically making all of these, you know, like, I mean, very smart people that are just slamming anyone who believes in this child sex ring celebrity thing. And it's like, dude, you like, even if whether I believe it or not, it's like, man, you are straight up if it is real, you're doing exactly what they want you to do. Mm-hmm. But I am glad to see there's a lot of movements on Facebook. Tim Tebow just donated a lot of money to combat child sex trafficking.
Yeah, man. Well, every time there's a big like BLM or Antifa march or protest or whatever, but there was not too long ago a march for for the children. I forget what it was called, but it was all about just marching against child sex trafficking. But what kind of mainstream attention did that get?
And the crazy thing is, again, man, and it hurts because I got a friend on Facebook who I thought so much of, man, and I don't mind that we share some political disagreements. I used to, quote the Thomas Jefferson quote, and I'm paraphrasing, but, basically I don't see a difference in religion or political ideologies to mean we can't be friends. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can because we live in an age of cancel culture where it's like, if you don't agree with me, shut them down. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and I don't get, just so many people are just following blindly and doing everything the powers to be would want you to do. You're shutting down anyone who's questioning child sex trafficking. Like they'll mockingly put, like a hashtag save our children in a mocking way. And it's like, whether you believe in the celebrity sex ring or not, that's one thing. But to mock people trying to stop child sex slavery, that's shitty. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it happens. Like, we know that's a thing. Now, is Bill Clinton and Tom Hanks and all of these well-known figures, are they having sex with minors? We don't know. But we do know people are. It happens. And, I've got a 1.5-year-old child, and I've seen videos. Like, there's a video on Facebook the other day, because they'll kidnap them young. Oh, yeah. And just raise them up to basically know nothing but this life. And it's like, I saw a video the other day where this woman was at an outdoor cafe it was her, an older child, and a young child. And I don't know how old the young child was, but young, probably not but a few years old, if that. And this random guy comes and hops the gate and grabs her child and tries to run. I mean, just in front of everyone. Right. To me, that doesn't seem like your typical child abductor. That's somebody who just needs to get that kid, and they don't plan on sticking around. Because, if it's a local citizen or someone who is in the area, of course, they don't want anybody to see them take the child, because then everybody knows who they are and where they are. To me, to make an attempt to take a child in plain view like that with cameras and people all around tells me that you're not planning on sticking around very long. Mm-hmm. You're going to get that child and then smuggle them out of the country more than likely. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that looked like a child sex slave abduction in progress, which fortunately there was some dude there who was badass and like grabs a guy and puts him in a choke and like slams. Like, thank God people were fighting back, because everyone got up and, first it really just took that one guy, because everyone else was kind of in shock, and this one guy like grabs him from behind in a choke and then like slams him down and wrestles with him or whatnot, and then everybody gets involved. But I mean, who knows what would have happened? Yeah. A buddy of mine at work was just saying that there was some guy in his neighborhood. He lives, in our town, and was riding around in a van and had all these bobbleheads and was trying to just stop and talk to random kids. And then it was just like he just kind of disappeared, It's weird stuff going on, man. I never wanted to be one of those parents, and I try not to be, that tells people that don't have kids, you don't understand until you have a kid. Because I believe love exists in a lot of different forms. The love I feel for my child, you might feel that love as strong for like a parent or a significant. I mean, people love in their own ways, and then there's no way you can tell your love is better than others. So never want to be one of those people like, until you've loved a child, you don't understand. No, I mean, I'm sure you love your mom enough, you'd be willing to kill somebody for, if they try to abduct, whatever. But the thing is, I never want to sound like one of those holier than thou parents or like one of these Billy badasses. But I'm telling you, man, when you have a kid, there is something primal in your body that's awakened. Yeah. At least most people, like, you will rip someone to pieces for messing with your child. I look at like, our cousins, like the chimpanzees and primates, and how, I mean, you go try to take their young man, they'll beat your ass to a puddle of mush. Yeah. And I mean, they're like bears. I mean, look at like Mama Bear. I mean, like, you mess with her cubs, she'll rip you to pieces and not think twice about it. I'm going to tell you right now, God is my witness, and I am no badass, not in any way, shape, or form. But if I ever see somebody pull up in a van or in a stranger pull up to my little girl in the yard, it ain't going to be no, honey, come inside. I'm going to tell them straight up, I got your license plate. I know what you look like. Stay the fuck away from my house.
Yeah.
Like Dexter when he found out that dude was abusing that child, man. Or abusing that girl. She was a teenager. But yeah, man, I mean, it is. I mean, so but you got people mocking it. Going back to, I got a little off topic there, but you got people mocking it. Like, the Save Our Children movement is a bunch of BS, and it's just, tinfoil hat wearing lunatics who believe every conspiracy. And it's like, dude, regardless of who you think is behind it, child sex trafficking is a huge issue.
Absolutely.
I think I had read somewhere that there are more people in slavery now than there ever has been in history.
Too, yeah.
And this is an age where slavery pretty much is not legal anywhere. I mean, I'm sure there might be some foreign country I've never heard of, but I mean, almost every country, if not every country, slavery is illegal, and yet somehow there are more people enslaved now than there ever has been.
I mean, you think about it, man. Like, yeah, we outlawed slavery in America, but we have no problem setting up a sweatshop in Pakistan where people are essentially working for slave wages, putting together sneakers
in hazardous conditions.
Yeah, and I mean, they probably, I mean, they're probably not in chains and forced to be there, but it's probably either work there and be able to feed your family a little bit, or just don't work and starve to death. I mean, you think about China. I mean, you got the people making our iPhones are literally jumping out of factory windows to kill themselves because they're being forced to work, just ungodly hours for next to nothing. I mean, and I think a big part of your wages, and they used to do this in like West Virginia with the coal miners, part of your wage is your living quarters, your food, all that stuff. So, I mean, it's awful, man. Like, slavery very, very much still exists.
I had read that without the sweatshops and such, like an iPad, which this was probably 3-4 years ago, but an iPad would cost $14,000-$15,000.
Yeah, I've heard this
for us, the consumer. Right. After if it were made here in America or made with the American regulations on the factories, it would just be outrageous. Nobody would buy them. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm sure you got some people whose mindset is, and some people's mindset's always going to be that way. I mean, I hate to, quote the Walking Dead comic, because of course that just the super anti-conspiracy people be like, oh my God, you're talking about a comic. But I mean, it's got some real world scenarios like in the Commonwealth. Slight spoilers, but Pamela, who ran the Commonwealth, totally believed in the class system. Mm-hmm. Like, you had to have your worker ants in order to make life better for your more elite classes. And it's just some people always, I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of these, multi-millionaire / billionaires, that probably is their mindset to them. They're at the top of the hill, and, it's terrible, but that kind of labor has to happen in order to keep the wheels turning. That's just a mindset, it's a personal philosophy of some of them, I'm sure. But I mean, child sex slavery, it happens, and now people mock it. If you are against it, you're just jumping on this QAnon. And it's like some people probably don't even believe, there's a Facebook group a friend of mine invited me to. I hadn't joined it yet because you get invited to so many pages and crap now. Right. I really have just stopped clicking accept because I can't keep up with all the crap on my timeline. But all it is just a little local page just saying Save Our Children, like basically, speaking out against child sex trafficking. Like, they're not on there spouting about Bill Gates or Jeffrey, any of the, they're just talking about child sex slavery. But then you got people that mock that as if like they're lumping it all into one group. Yeah. If you're against child sex slavery, then you automatically have a tinfoil hat under your bed. You believe, in all of this, but I mean, it's not a conspiracy. It's a real thing.
What's happening, baby?
Just I was reading the other day a story. I like to cite sources. I can't remember where I read this. I don't know if it was the New York Times or Washington Post or something, where this TSA agent, I guess, or it was some kind of agent on a plane, noticed this little girl, like a couple years old, looking very distressed, sitting next to an older gentleman, and just something felt off. So she somehow got to conversating with the girl and asked her, is everything okay? Do you need anything? And the girl told her she needed help. And, so she called. And so it might have been, it could have been a flight attendant noticed and then told, so they stopped the plane, took them off. That was child sex slavery. That girl had been abducted. Like she was being flown to another country to be put into child sex slave. So it happens. So that's my thing. Is you don't have to believe in all the celebrity involvement per se, but at the same time, I'd be hesitant to mock it as a whole because it needs attention.
Get this, man. I just heard a story coming out of Georgia. You may have heard of this. There's an internment camp down there for illegal immigrants. And I know at least one doctor's been linked to it, but he is giving women in these internment camps hysterectomies against their will. I
saw a little something. Tell me about that. I saw kind of the headlines of that, but I hadn't got around to reading up on it yet.
Yeah, there's a nurse at this camp who she's the only person to blow the whistle because these illegal immigrant women are coming up to her like, look, we thought we were just going in for a routine procedure. We're put under and wake up minus a uterus. And there's no, as of me hearing this story, there's no real explanation as to why it's being done, what means.
Do you think it's just, it's in a grim way to put it? Do you think they're just trying to control the immigrant population?
Possibly. You hear about, which this is more with fetuses and aborted babies and stuff, the bodies being harvested and sent to laboratories in China and stuff. God. I don't know if there's specific properties or value to, a fresh uterus that would, be of value on the black market when it comes to that. But
Jesus.
Yeah, they call him the uterus collector.
That's what they call this guy?
Yeah, that's what, a lot of the women in these camps, what is this guy, the uterus collector?
Wow.
So like I said, man, I don't know if he's black marketing these lady parts or like you said, if it's just some guy who's well, the best solution for this is to just, make sure they can't reproduce. I don't know.
God, I had seen headlines on that, but I hadn't actually read up on it yet.
Yeah, they were talking about it, and it's not one of my favorite sources for information, but it was NPR. I was listening to them the other day, going back and forth, and so they don't know if it's, just one rogue kind of mad scientist dude. They don't know if it's a concerted effort within the camp, maybe a black government agency, like a black ops kind of thing. Who knows?
Are they looking? Is there an investigation ongoing into it?
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's a little disturbing.
It's pretty horrific, man. You imagine getting put under for what you think is just like taking out a kidney stone or something. Next thing you wake up, your testicles are gone.
That's true, man. That's wild.
Yes, it is.
I'd be interested to see what the reasoning behind that was.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. Like I said, if anybody listening in the medical field knows of an intrinsic value for a fresh uterus that could be used for something, I know it's umbilical fluid, you get stem cells and stuff. I don't know what you could use a uterus for.
Who knows, man? Hell, that a woman's body is pretty incredible when you look at this isn't one of those pandering things, but I'm saying for real, a woman's body is an amazing thing. The uterus, just the whole way it creates and sustains life and repairs itself. And I don't know how true it is, but I've heard the child, more or less, the embryo, the unborn child, actually can help repair the mother's body. Mm-hmm. In times of trauma and crisis. And of course, that's kind of along the lines the stem cell research, why they were researching into stem cells, because of their ability to heal not only the child, but the mother as well. It's an amazing thing. So, as dark as it is, I'm sure there is some value of a uterus.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some use for it.
That's horrible.
It reminds me of an episode of King of Queens. They, for some reason, they've got to sneak into Carrie's gynecologist's house or something like that. And Kevin all of a sudden is just oh my God, he's got women's vaginas in jars. And then she's stupid, those are pears. He's canning pears. So they were pears, they weren't vaginas.
That makes me wonder if that guy's seen a vagina.
Yeah, I guess you split a pair. And
Wait, who said that?
It was Kevin. Oh, well, what was his name on the show?
Oh, so it was her husband.
Yeah.
Oh, well, he definitely has seen a vagina in the show, but.
Yeah.
Huh.
I wonder if he ever banged Leah Remini.
I don't think so. Kevin, not getting off topic because we are here to discuss conspiracies, but on a lighter note, because we've been talking about some pretty dark shit. Kevin, what's his last name?
James.
Kevin James. Whether you find him funny or not, he's actually got a really funny series on YouTube where he's the sound guy, and he's inserted himself like into different movies, like No Country for Old Men, the conversation at the countertop with the coin. It's like Kevin James is the sound guy on set, and then it's like what is it? There's a scene with Will Smith on I Am Legend where he's like, "What are you doing here, Frank?" And of course, instead of it being the mannequin, it's Kevin James, and he's like, just getting ready for the scene. And it's actually really good. Like, I'm glad to see him doing some sketch comedy out there. It's pretty good.
Yeah, man. I love King of Queens. I didn't really watch much of what he did after that.
Well, some of his movies are kind of... but King of Queens was great.
Yeah, man. I grew up watching that show.
Yeah, my mom really liked that show.
That was a good block of TV. I think it was Everybody Loves Raymond, then King of Queens.
That's a show I never got into. I like Ray Romano. You know, I mean, I think I like him a lot, but I don't know. It's just I don't know if it was too blah for me. I don't know what it was, man. It's just it's a different kind of humor, but I don't know. I never could get into Everybody Loves Raymond. My girlfriend loved it. I just doesn't grab me.
Yeah.
But again, I like Ray Romano.
Yeah, it was a great cast. You had Brad Garrett. You had who played Frank? I can't remember his name, but he's been in a million things. He was in Taxi Driver, all that stuff.
Last thing I'll say about sitcom before we get back to the conversation at hand is Ray Romano played a really good character in the show Parenthood, which I know that's not for everybody. I don't think you would like it, but it's it's just your run of the mill. It's not really a comedy. It's more of like a family drama type show. Just dealing with family drama. But Ray Romano's character in that was really good because it deals with like autism and stuff like that, and it was I really liked him. He was actually, when he came onto the show, I really like his character. Seems like an asshole, but then he starts learning there might be reasons why he is the way he is.
Peter Boyle is who I was trying to think of.
But anyway, okay, there's your lighthearted break. Now we're back to the dark shit.
But yeah, man, stealing uteruses, kidnapping babies, Bill Gates becoming the nuclear overlord of the planet. I don't know.
But what does suck, though, playing devil's advocate here, and before you shoot me down in the comments, I'm not saying Bill Gates isn't up to something. Just before you get your panties in a wad and start typing away, just hold up, because I know, man, like people. But anyways, like what would suck though is if Bill Gates really is just trying to help. You know what I mean? Like when you look at it from the other side. It does, because a lot of us have said it. Now, whether or not we would do it, we'll never know because we'll never be rich. But I mean, I know I've said it. I'm sure you've probably said it at some point in your life before world domination became a goal of yours. But, man, if I was rich, I would love to help people out, like love to do something to make the world a better place and yada, yada, yada. And it does suck if he just wants to help with the vaccine to get life back to normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. There definitely could be way more to it than that. I mean, way more to it. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, well, if you want to help the world, why are you waiting until now? And there's so many other things that you could be investing in. So I totally see the speculation from the other side. Like, look, there's tons of other vaccines we could be working on that your money could help. Why are you just now jumping on to this already highly disputed new pandemic,
Yeah. Yeah, man, I definitely think he's up to no good. I was trying to find, like I said, his grandfather, I'm pretty sure was an evil piece of shit too. But
what did his grandfather do?
That's why I know, like I said, I knew they were a strange history of Bill Gates population control conspiracy. I don't know. This is where notes would come
what we need to do? No, what we need to do, a lot of radio people and podcasts do, because I know you can look up anything on your phone, but it takes longer. You're typing with one finger. It's a little slow. We need to get you like a laptop in here in front of you while we podcast. That way you can look stuff up quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I used to bring my laptop in for the podcast, and that way we were having that discussion like, Well, who was his grandfather? I could just real quick, Bill Gates' grandfather, and then bam, it's up. Because phones are good and they're fast, but you're still using one finger to type versus all your other fingers.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man.
Yeah, we'll have to do a deep dive on Bill Gates. I'll have to put a little info packet together.
Yeah, we could definitely do a more in-depth look at Bill Gates.
I'm struggling a little bit this morning.
Yeah, well,
we'll be all right.
Well, I stayed up watching the end of Ratchet.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy, man, because I watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest last night.
But you didn't watch the end.
I did. I couldn't.
Because it's very hard to watch.
I couldn't. By the time the Whoers were ready to leave, and he was ready to leave, but then he goes back because the kids all. I was just like, I can't do this. I can't put myself through it. So I cut it off.
It's kind of like Field of Dreams. I can't get. I don't want to watch the end of it.
Yeah.
But let us know your thoughts on just everything. I mean, I know, like I said, if you're new to the podcast, this is not how they all are. We don't just kind of go all over the place. We normally have a subject, and for the most part, we do pretty good at staying on that subject. But today, there's just so much happening, and I'll be completely honest with you, it's just been a busy week. I haven't really had time to sit down and come up with something. Next week, I think we might venture back into the paranormal, talk about maybe a monster or something. And actually, I've got a few more on our channel. We did some reaction videos. Remember that?
Yeah.
That guy is back. He has a grudge-looking girl haunting him.
Dude, yeah.
He's got another.
Shit.
Well, Nuke's Top 5 has shared another video from him, so we definitely want to do a reaction to that.
All right.
So we do it, like I said, next week we'll probably go back to a little paranormal just to switch it up, and we'll have a subject we'll be discussing. But if you enjoy the podcast, because, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what podcasts are discussion, not presentation, at least I think. I mean, you got so many channels where it's like a scripted, awesome presentation on this subject, whereas a podcast is, more of a discussional time for it. But anyways, like JP, I'm struggling myself, so I think we're going to wrap this thing up. If you enjoyed the conversation and you want to hear more, make sure to check out our Patreon. You get 8 extra podcasts a month. We do contests and giveaways, and we're going to start doing polls and things like that. So make sure you check out the Patreon. I mean, for as little as $1 a month, it helps supports the channel, and the more we can move towards making this podcast a primary focus financially, the better we can do.
Yeah.
The better quality we can bring, the more time we'll have to type up scripts and have great, it's a lot more that we want to do. But of course, we kind of have to go to our other jobs. So it makes it a little harder with time constraints to do this. So consider supporting. Every dollar helps. And if nothing else, just give this podcast a like and consider subscribing. Even if you don't do the Patreon, that helps us out a ton. So
it sure does.
Either way, we'll see patrons tomorrow, and then we'll see you back here on the channel Friday for a part 2 of our Walking Dead What If
that's right.
series. So we'll see you soon. I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead. Stay weird.